Hello and welcome back to Wager Talk
That's
TV for First Pitch. My name is Andrew McGinnis, joined by Dave Koken, mid-major Matt Josephs, and now Tony Finn on Twitter at Finn at Wager Talk. First of all, Dave, you are the $2 Tuesday guy at wagertalk.com. You're rolling in numerous sports. I'll give you the spotlight, man. Let us know what's going on with you. Some college streaks. I know you cashed your 5% play last weekend. Things are going pretty good, it seems like.
Yeah, they usually do in college football, and the NFL was good to me this weekend as well. So 5-1 start to the season, and they made me the $2 handicap at Wager Talk today. I put a college game up, and the line is blowing up on the game already. That's not necessarily because of the fact that I'm on it. It's the fact that there's an injury on the other side, which came out after I'd already posted it. So for those who got in right away, you got a great number on the game, and I would still certainly not be worrying about playing it. I think it should be a winner. I'll have more up as the week goes on. There's, I believe, some kind of a coupon that's going to get you a really good discount on some other stuff that I've got available. So check it out now. There's also a free play up for tonight's NHL game, and I've got a baseball selection as well. So looking forward to another good night. Last night I had one play and it pushed. And I was lucky to get the push on the over in the Golden Knights Stars game. As a fan, I was not happy when Dallas tied it up, but as a bettor, which is more important, I was delighted because at that point, over 5 couldn't lose, and it ended up a push, and that's the end of the Golden Knights season. So that's enough for me. Let's talk about the other guys.
Yep, so Dave's the $2 Tuesday handicapper, rightfully so. Over at sportsmemo.com, we have Dr. Chuck. He's had an outstanding past 30 days, so of course, not just that Wager Talk, but also Sports Memo, where you can find mid-major Matt as well. Dr. Chuck, $2 handicapper as well. We'll bring mid-major Matt in. Matt Josephs, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Went 2-1 in my Monday Night Football props last night, and then extended my streak. I've hit 6 straight MLB props, 7 of my last 8. Had the over on Freddie Freeman total bases last night. He gets the single in his second at bat. They're getting killed. I figure he has one last at bat and he hits a homer. So we've hit 6 straight MLB props, 7 of my last 8, and I've got a 3-pack up for $19 on sportsmemo.com of props and plays for MLB tonight.
Tony Finn, we're seeing the playoff format being announced now in the MLB. We got the conference finals happening now in the NBA. It's a great time to be a sports fan.
It is typically a little unusual, should I say? I mean, how often do we get NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs in September, right? But I'm glad they're here. Huh?
This isn't normal?
Well, it's not in my life. It isn't, not my world, but I'm okay with it. I really am. In fact, we'd go year round if we could. You know, I didn't do well yesterday. I actually released Denver about a month ago. I liked Denver then, and the number was a -1.5, -2, depending on your shop. And then, of course, the injury to Yvonne created a move that I thought was exorbitant. I mean, an elite quarterback in the NFL might create a 5-6 point move. A defensive lineman or a linebacker, they'll rush in. Call him a rush in, call him what you want, is about 0.5 point. So not able. I'm -1.5, -2 in that game. I just told the clients, I said, I'm not going to get off this. I still like Denver. And in fact, what I've done, I don't recommend. I'm not going to put it in writing or at least officially make it a play again. I said, I advise you to go get that 3 points in Denver and put a little extra on it. So hopefully they did well and got a little recovery on that. So that's where we're at.
Well, Tony, it seemed like Gostkowski had a ticket in his pocket, and he might be one of your clients for all we know, because he was trying for you to get Denver that win. Unfortunately, it ended up being a close game because of that. I'll move over to you, Dave. We're going to start with these games here, but I do want to mention, as far as these quick hits, we do have countless games. So to all of our viewers here that are saying to us, why don't you spend enough time on this game or that game or that game? We do select 3 games, and Dave selects those, and they're always 3 very key games that we select and bring up, and then kind of try and go super fast over the rest of the games. I mean, some of these MLB cards are huge. Yesterday's wasn't as big. Before we start, I have a 5% play going tonight in the NHL. A lot of people say they have rare 5% plays. I know Dave very rarely posts 5% plays. My NHL plays are very rare. I haven't had one in a few weeks now during the playoffs. I'm on a 13-2 run for over 50% ROI with these 5% plays on the NHL season. So you can grab that over at wagertalk.com. Also, Dave and Dr. Chuck, $2 handicappers. We'll get right into it, guys. We're going to start with you.
Hold on one sec. I want to answer a couple of questions that were posted. Number one, the sunglasses are Versace. Number two, somebody asked about, is the injury on my side on the $2 play? Well, obviously, if the line's gone up, then the injury's not on my side. I thought I explained that. But anyway, that's it.
We'll throw it to you, Matt. We have the Cardinals taking on the Brewers, minus 140 favorites here for the Cards.
Well, I mean, Jack Flaherty's been really good. It's a bit of a concern. He threw 95 pitches last time out against Detroit to only get through those 5 innings. But, I mean, he's still kind of working his way through. Of course, the Cardinals with disjointed schedule. Last year, he had some struggles against the Brewers. 6.48 ERA and 5 starts against Milwaukee. Now, of course, we've talked about it all year. This is not the same Brewers team. Yeah. The lineup seemingly is missing Lorenzo Cain. They're just not having the same punch. But I'm never going to back Brett Anderson. Last time he was scratched with a tight right hip on Saturday. He was okay against Cleveland, get 4 runs and 6 hits in 5 innings. I'm not going to lay this price with the Cardinals because, look, as good as Flaherty is, do I trust the rest of their bullpen? One thing to note here, Paul Goldschmidt has 2 home runs and 8 hits and 15 at-bats against Anderson if you want to look to throw him into your DFS lineups today. So, here's a game where you've got the Cardinals who are raking against lefties. The Brewers are the worst first 5 offense in baseball. You've got an edge on the mound with Flaherty. To me, the play here is Cardinals minus a half run for the first 5. And it doesn't get – I'm not going to complicate it beyond that. You've got a clearly better pitcher, and the team stats also fit in.
Tony?
Yes, I agree with – listen, Flaherty is the better pitcher here. St. Louis has been, as Dave said, they've been hitting left-handers very well. They don't have quite as many bats against left-handers, and I would say the opposition is probably lucky because they do hit left-handers well. They have for the last couple of years. I like St. Louis here. I don't trust the St. Louis bullpen, and the reason I didn't play this mostly is because they've been really careful with their pitching staff. St. Louis, the fact that they're still in the hunt for one of the 16 spots. I mean, if you're not in the hunt for 16 spots, something's wrong. And they've been so careful with him. Sometimes he goes 5, sometimes he doesn't go 5. And as somebody else said here, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Dave. Maybe it was one of you guys said that they had him on a pitch count. Almost all their pitchers in St. Louis are on a pitch count. Maybe it's because of the time they were off. I never had a straight answer. I've gotten 3 different answers when I've asked somebody. But to make a long story short, I like St. Louis here, and I probably might personally make a play on them.
Based off what you said just a few moments ago, Tony, would you recommend to our viewers here to go first 5?
Yes. Listen, I'm not a big first 5 guy. I don't do that. I handicap the full game, but there's been times when I've not only played. If I like the full game, there's been times when I played first 5 and the game rather than play double up on the game. I'll split it up.
We're gonna go right back to you, Tony. Here.
Just quickly, the reason I mentioned first 5 is it's not that this. I don't really want to go into the Milwaukee bullpen, which can be very good. And if it's a starting pitcher play, and Flaherty versus Anderson is a starting pitcher play, to me, you just make those 5-inning plays and don't worry about the rest of the game.
We'll go right back to you here, Tony, with the A's taking on the Rockies. A's minus 160 favorites. The A's, of course, as we know, talked about it ad nauseum yesterday. Couple doubleheader games yesterday. They were one of them. 2 tails of the tape, it seemed to be. We'll let you continue your thoughts here on today's matchup.
Well, yesterday's game was my only MLB play. I had a hard time with the card. I played the A's minus 1.5, and when they got up 5-0 against Seattle, I thought I had a pretty good chance until I turned around and saw it was 6-5. Just minutes later, it seemed like. I stayed away from this game. I like the over. I leaned to the over in this game. I didn't know the umpire. So I just sometimes at this point in time in the season, especially this point in time in the season where the weather's cooling, especially in Colorado, I backed away from this game. But neither pitcher is in great form. I don't trust either one. And And I would play the over here. I like the over.
I would disagree on the Manea end of that. I think he's in very good form now. He's been solid his last few starts. His numbers are strong. Now, he is strictly a first 2 times through the order guy. And I'm not sure how his stuff will work at Coors because, breaking balls tend to get a little sloppy. They're not as crisp. So maybe it's not a great ballpark for him. I don't know. Wait and see on that. But, I thought the odds makers did a perfect job with this game, pricing it at 155, 160 in that range. That looks like a good number to me. I think the A's will win, but I'm not going to, I can't recommend them as a play at that price.
He was pretty good last outing, Dave, against I think who they play last night. It was the Astros.
I think he's had 3 straight good outings.
Well,
I don't have my stuff in front of me.
He's actually had 4 good outings. He's only given up 4 earned runs in his last 4 starts, and only had 1 walk.
2 starts back. Did he not struggle with his command and get pulled after 4 innings because he was already at 70 pitches?
He's only had 1 walk his last 4 starts combined.
Okay, well that doesn't mean he hadn't struggled with his command. Just because he has 1 walk. So I'd have to look it up. But I thought when he pitched against the Padres.
Last time out, he went 7 innings, gave 2 hits, 1 earned run to Houston, and then Padres he went 5 innings, gave 1 run and 4 hits, had 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, had 64 pitches
against the Padres.
So Dave, you mentioned you think he'll go just strongly 2 times.
Okay, here's
look. His stat line is clear. Mm-hmm. He loses effectiveness after the second time through the order, but Melvin knows that and he gets him out of there. So he generally, unless he's really sharp, he doesn't really go that deep into games. And that's the way pitchers are handled in 2020, and that's the way you have to handicap in 2020.
I just looked at my notes, and it was the Padres game I was talking about. When I watched that game, my notes was that didn't look sharp. He had a mile an hour, 2 miles an hour off, many times off his typical velocity, and they only pitched him 64 after he had pitched 74 and 80 pitches the 2 starts before that. So those are my notes on that.
Let's bring Matt in here with his thoughts here. Matt, minus 160 favorites, total 11.5.
Well, so here's the thing. I still can't believe they played yesterday in that air quality. I mean, that was the quality of the air was so bad. And they played 2 games, and most of the guys were wearing masks. So I don't want to play whatever. I don't even know who specializes in this stuff. But when you go into that type of air, and then you're going to Colorado, and that's a different kind of air, and then all this stuff that happened yesterday, and you played a doubleheader. I'm sure there were guys who played in both games. I don't know if I could trust Oakland right now in this game. So much went on yesterday that, I'm not ready to back Senzatella. His fastball wasn't working very well last time against San Diego, but I'm not ready to jump on, especially at this price, Oakland, after everything they went through yesterday, going from that air quality to the rarefied air of Coors Field. So I'll just pass on this one.
That's something I hadn't even thought of. That's an excellent thought.
Once again, a reminder over at both Sports Memo and Wager Talk $2 Tuesday. I want to thank all of you guys that hopped on board and grabbed some plays yesterday for $9 Monday. It seemed to be a very successful day at both websites. So today, $2 Tuesday, don't forget to grab Dave's play in college football, and I believe Dr. Chuck as well, a college football play. So 2 college football plays for just $2 at both websites. This next game, when we see these 2 teams playing, we're going to talk about them. It's going to be consistent. It's going to be in the lineup for a key game for obvious reasons. It's the Dodgers and Padres, Tony. We got to talk about them here.
I made a personal play last night on the Padres. Listen, Kershaw's been pretty good. He's been good this year for compared to some of the outings he had last year. He's benefited from some big strike zones, and listen, the it's not saying he's not going to lay down. You think your team, you're a Dodger fan, you won 70% of your games, you're supposed to, in an only 60-game season, you think you're cruising the playoffs, and they're going to get in the playoffs. But now what are they? 1.5 games out of first place, right? Padres are 1.5 games out of first place with 2 games left in the series. Padres are going to play hard. They would love nothing more than to surpass the Dodgers because it just doesn't happen very much, especially for them.
Dave, I want to ask
this
you
is what
real quick.
We talked about this yesterday.
You mentioned about teams caring more. and
That's
the
what I, yeah, that's what
teams.
yeah.
And I just kind of want to segue you into that, because I know a lot of people don't believe in that stuff. And I think Tony, with the way Tony said a couple weeks ago to me, they athletes put their pants on just like we do in the morning, do all the normal things. I'm an advocate of that. They're humans just like us. So can you expand on your thoughts upon that and just really?
That's exactly what I said yesterday. I can't expand on it much because it is what it is. I think these games are bigger to the Padres than they are to the Dodgers.
Yeah. But from the start of the season, you've been saying that, not just now with the standings. You've been saying that since day one.
Yeah, because the Dodgers were going to be in the playoffs no matter what. The Padres they've been a bad franchise for a long time. They did a lot of stuff in the offseason, and they've continued to do it in season to try and generate excitement. It's pretty obvious.
I agree with that. I agree.
I think the Padres have been, if you've been watching games, there is no clubhouse or no dugout in baseball that's more into it than the Padres are on a daily basis. So, we'll see what happens come playoff time, because then everybody wants the games just as much. But right now, they're not a team you want to mess with. And look, Davies might be the perfect example of what's going on, because this guy's kind of a mediocre pitcher, but he's having a great season. Okay, I mean, he is pitching the best ball of his life, and I'm not going to go against him. Gonsolin's he's very good. I mean, the guy's talented as hell, and he's been really good first 2 times through the order. Maybe this is a low-scoring game early on. That's kind of the way I'd look at it. I don't think I'm going to play it, but I've pretty much made up my mind that unless it's something exceptional from a situational standpoint, and it could be a game like that coming out of this series, I'm probably not going to look to play against the Padres. Now, coming out of this series, I would love for the Padres to sweep this series, because if they do, you're looking at a potential flat spot in the next game. But until that time, we'll just sit back and watch.
Padres' first team to cash their season win totals. Pick 'em price pretty much right here against the Dodgers here. Total is 8.5. Matt, is there a play for you on the side or a total? And if you don't have too much of a play in the total, I'm just interested in your thoughts on it.
Well, I don't. I mean, Dave's probably right that it could be a first 5 under here if you believe in Gonsolin. I mean, he had 8 strikeouts the last time about a month ago against the Padres. Davies has a 23.7% strikeout rate, so he's striking guys out. The one thing I question and wonder is, did Grisham somehow wake up the Dodgers? If the Dodgers were in a malaise and they didn't really care, did the whole Grisham thing and what Robert said afterwards, did it wake them up? Do they come out extra motivated for tonight? Now, look, that doesn't set up the future nights, but are the Dodgers more motivated tonight after Grisham? Is there payback? I don't know if there will be, but I'm just saying what happened last night. I'll find it interesting if the Dodgers come out and all of a sudden are motivated more than they would be if this was game, 48-49 for them on the season.
We're going to go down the list now to our next segment, the MLB Quick Hits run. A decent amount of games, guys, so we won't really take too much time. We'll get right into it. First game on the board, going right back to you here, Matt. Nationals, Rays.
Anibal Sanchez, batter's hitting .403 the first time through. He's 0-2 with a 9 ERA and 4 starts on the road. Didn't pitch terribly against the Rays last time out, but now their second straight time seeing him. Curtis is going to be an opener for the Rays. He's had 8 straight short outings without allowing an earned run. I mean, to me, it's Rays or pass, but I'm probably just going to end up passing on this one.
Yeah, the Sanchez numbers are hideous, because you mentioned the first time through the order batting average, and it's powerful too, because the OPS is like over 1.2, so they're not just getting singles off the guy; they're drilling him. In watching him, he is showing some signs of coming around, but he's got like 2 or 3 starts left, so I think it's a little too late for that, and they don't look like they're going to be in the playoffs, so that doesn't much matter. I'm not laying that kind of a price, but I don't want the Nationals.
Tony, for me, this price kind of just made me just say, hey, I'm going to pass this one, stay away here. I didn't really find an angle I liked. Is there a spot for you you're interested in?
Not really. I mean, I'm going to watch this if I can. I like to see Curtis. He's had quite a few appearances this year, and I've yet to see him pitch, and he's going to be the star. It's only his second start, but it's essentially a bullpen game. Well, he's an opener. Yep. But
it's going to be Yarbrough's going to, as far as I know, Yarbrough's going to piggyback him.
Yeah.
And that is a little bit of cause for concern, because he's a lefty.
Yes.
And we know what the Nationals do against lefties. So
it's a whole new ball game. We'll go to the next one. I'll go right back to you here, Tony. Pirates and Reds here. Minus 135, 140 favorites for the Reds.
It's funny. This Reds team, I've tried to trust them, and I'd like to trust them here. You're supposed to be able to trust them against the Pirates, right? Because the Pirates are untrustworthy too. But there's a lot of plate discipline on this Reds team. There's the number one team in the National League for walks drawn to at bats. The Cubs being number two. Yet they just seem to never be able to get the big hit. And they have some personalities. The pitching staff's been mediocre. Gray's been a huge disappointment. He really hasn't been, but every time I'm on him, he's disappointed me and not showing up. I passed in this game, but I sure would have liked to have played the Reds. I mean, if I was going to play this, I would feel very comfortable playing the Reds and Lorenzen. Absolutely.
I don't have any interest in backing Lorenzen as a starter because he's not going to be out there long, and I don't trust the Cincinnati bullpen, and I'm not playing the Pirates. Next.
Matt, before I get your thoughts on this one, sorry to interrupt you there, but we have James Thomas here saying Rays team total over. Team total is something I look at quite a bit. I know you're a prop guy and you like to expand your style of betting. Would you agree with that? I mean, if we might not like the price here on the Rays, how about the team total?
I mean, they didn't hit exactly smack Sanchez around last time. They had three earned runs and 4 hits in 5 innings. I mean, let's say it's a close game. You get the Nationals' decent bullpen. No, probably not. I'm not doing that with the Rays because their offense isn't consistently good enough to take advantage of situations like this.
Okay. As far as the Pirates and Reds go?
I mean, Musgrove's not in bad form right now. I mean, he's still working his way back from injury and pitched well against the Reds last year. But as Dave said, I can't trust the Pirates and I can't trust Lorenzen. So this is a pass.
It's a 9.5 here as a total in the Red Sox and Marlins game. Minus 155 favorites here for the Marlins. I repeat, minus 155 favorites for the Marlins. I'm going to go to you here first, Matt.
Houck had decent numbers in AA and AAA. You know, it was interesting. In AA, he actually got lit up by lefties, and in AAA, he had good numbers against lefties. He had some issues, walks, 31 walks to lefties, 15 of them to righties, but I mean, the Marlins lineups, no great shakes. I really would like to play the Red Sox, but I can't do that. Not even with Dave's money.
I lean first. I lean first 5 under here. Alcantara, he's nothing special on the guy, but he's not horrible. And I often give an edge to a first-time starter. The hitters haven't seen him, and at least for one time through the order, they can do pretty well. So I would lean that way. First 5 under.
Dave, I've seen these questions before. I've had them myself through Twitter, so I'll let you answer this one here on the screen. Is your baseball play a first 5 or full game? Reason I'm asking is local establishment does not offer
tonight. It happens to be a full game, and on the second part, get a real bookmaker. And if you're betting, it's as simple as that. Herc, if you're betting to win money rather than to just screw around with some action, get a real bookie.
Tony, how about the Sox and Marlins?
They're available. It's as simple as that.
Well, I would ignore House numbers when he's only been up 2 years. He was the number one draft. He was the number one round in first round, 26th overall draft pick for the Sox. He throws a 96 mile an hour wicked sinker that just dropped. I mean, it's unbelievable. And what they did with this kid was they told him to quit throwing that 2-seam seeker. They said, we don't want you to throw it at all. We want you to work on your 4-seam. We need you to work on a slider. You need to have a third pitch. And they weren't even going to bring him up. This is where he's at now. He's back to throwing the 2-seamer and his 96 mile an hour. Listen, that's a pretty nice pitch if you can command it. And that's another thing is that he finally started commanding his slider as his third pitch. So that's why he's up. At least that's what I've been told.
Dave, we'll go right into the Jays take on the Yankees here. 9 is the total. Yankees minus 155 favorites here. Walker Garcia.
I have to do this once every show. Doug Reed. Tulane, Dave. Oh, well. I've had 6 plays in football so far, and I'm 5-1. And you're going to bust my balls on the loser? Take a hike. All right? And they didn't lose by that much, by the way. They actually won the game. They didn't cover. As far as Toronto, jeez, these guys are amazing. I'm sorry I can't hit 100%. Walker's been good.
5-1. Someone's complaining.
Yeah, as far as Taijuan Walker's concerned, his metrics aren't real good, so there's going to be some regression. But look, the Blue Jays have won all 3 of his starts since he arrived, so he's not a guy I'm eager to fade right now until the regression starts. The flip side of that, though, is, and I mentioned this the last time he started, I like Davy Garcia. I think this kid's going to be a good pitcher for the Yankees. And I think the odds makers think so, too. Or at least the betting market does, because they priced the game pretty high. It is tempting to take Toronto here. And I think there's going to be Toronto money showing up on this. But I'm not so sure I want to play it. This could be the night where Walker starts to regress. This ballpark isn't great for him either. I don't know what his numbers are. I didn't look him up. But he's a guy who he could get touched up in this ballpark.
Matt?
I mean, the one thing, and I agree, if the Toronto money comes in, I may look to the Yankees. My one worry is this is his Garcia's second straight start against Toronto. Now, it's not like their lineup is that great anyway. I mean, without Hernandez and a couple of other guys, it's not a great lineup, but this is their second time seeing him. They might make some adjustments. By the way, his curveball, a 15.7% swinging strike rate and a 34.8% whiff rate. So Garcia's got good stuff, and if he goes deep enough, then you get the good bullpen arm. So I would lean to the Yankees, but if you like the Yankees, wait for that Toronto money to come in. You get them cheaper.
How do you feel here, Tony? Well, settle it for us. Are you on the dog, or you like the favorite here?
Well, first, Walker does have upside. I mean, this guy's got upside, especially with kind of a rebirth. You get out of Seattle, you get to play for a team that at least is live. They're alive. They haven't been eliminated from the playoffs. And as far as Garcia goes, this is a guy that throws about 91, 92 miles an hour. And has good command. He really commands his stuff. And as you said, he's getting his swing and misses. He's averaging about a strikeout per inning. And for a guy who throws 90, that tells you a lot about his stuff. It tells you a lot about his stuff, and the ability to command it and the movement on it, the RPMs. I backed Garcia last time he was at Toronto, and I got a win from him. I passed on this one.
Question coming here about the first 5 innings under. Any thoughts, guys?
No, not for me, because again, I've got misgivings about Walker. I know he's pitching well, but he's been around for a while, and I'm just not a believer.
I get it. It sounds like for me that it's one of those things where it's a guy that's played well, but you might not believe it's going to just continue. Something eventually something will fall.
It's not going to continue, and here's why. And I can't say when the regression will come, but when a guy's got a 2.95 ERA and an xFIP of over 5, he's going to regress. It's just a matter of time.
Well, I like to use the term goal support in hockey. Obviously, we love the term run support in baseball, and it sounds like some of these Jays pitchers are getting that every couple of nights here. We'll go to you, Tony, with the Mets and Phillies. Porcello, Arrieta.
I was waiting to see the lineup here because I really, as hard as it is to believe, guys, I was willing to back Arrieta here. And Arrieta hasn't been very good. I mean, he's not striking anybody out. He's got a 6% swing and miss rate. But the last time he pitched against the Mets, he pitched pretty well. He just seems to have just enough to bother the Mets hitters. And when Porcello starts, typically the manager, the skipper, puts defensive players behind him and sacrifices a little bit of offense, because Porcello pitches to contact. However, I stayed away from this. I considered the total. I considered area. I looked at every angle in this game, and I passed.
Is there any way to predict what the Phillies bullpen's going to do from one night to the next?
No.
I mean, it's just, I'm still irritated at the game I lost last week. I had a play on the Phillies. They're up 6-3 in the 8th, and here comes Tommy Hunter and Workman, and that was the end of that. And it makes it, when Arrieta's out there, it makes it even more difficult because he's not more than a 5-inning guy at this point in time. So I don't want him. And I'm not backing Porcello, who, let's call it straight. That Cy Young award, which he really didn't deserve anyway, that's well in the rearview mirror now. He wasn't good at all last year for the Red Sox, and he has not been good at all this year for the Mets. He's just not a very good pitcher anymore. I mean, it sounds like an over.
That's exactly what I'm staying away from these guys here, Matt. I'm staying away from them. It's over or pass. I have no play on the side here. Anything for you on the side or total?
I'm still bitter. This was my 5% play, I think, 2 weeks ago when these two faced off. It was the over and the runs, hits, and errors, and Arrieta puts that outing out there. And then it was the one time the Phillies bullpen actually did their job, and I think it was Brandon Workman's only 1-2-3 inning. Stubbornly, I might go back to the over, runs, hits, and errors, but the problem is the Phillies lineup's worse because, if Real Muto's not playing and Hoskins went on the DL. So to me, and I'll have a free play video up on this after the show, I went over on the total bases, 1.5 on Conforto. I would not be opposed to doing it with McNeil, who hits over 500 against Arrieta, and then Dom Smith too. I think the Mets could break out here, and you could get, if you hit one or two of them at a plus price, then you come out on top. So I want to go back to the over, runs, hits, and errors here, but I don't know if the Phillies lineup is good enough right now.
Once again, guys, $2 Tuesday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmo.com. And, I don't do this too much about my 5% plays, but I'd really like a lot of you guys to join me on this one. I really do like this spot here. You'll get full written analysis. I haven't released a 5% NHL play in a few weeks now, and it's a 13-2 run. So obviously you can tell I'm saving these 5% plays for really, really strong plays here. And again, the full written analysis will be there at wagertalk.com upon purchase. You can grab that over at the website. We'll move on here, guys. We're just flying through these games. Going to go to you, Tony, with the Royals taking on the Tigers. Probably the matchup of the night, I'd say.
A couple starts back, 3 starts back for Boyd. He completely changed his pitch selection, and he had a couple good games for Boyd. He had a couple satisfactory, call it whatever you want to, starts, and the last 2 have not been good. Again, right back to not being very good. In fact, the last one I don't have the numbers in front of me, but his line was ugly. And Danny Duffy is a guy
Duffy scratched.
Oh,
Duffy missed the plane.
Yep,
he did miss the plane. Well, then
and
in that case,
a pilot, so that's really bad.
Yes, I was about to say, and then Duffy, of course, he's one time to the line. So I passed on this game. If I was going to play somebody, I would have played Boyd because I believe. Listen, I like Boyd, but you can't trust him. He's never been consistent. Detroit can hit the ball when they decide they want to, and they can come up with absolutely sniff. And when you think they're going to hit too, so unfortunate. Who's pitching for the Royals?
Junis.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had done my analysis of the game with Duffy, so
yeah,
I don't have anything. I have nothing to say because I haven't looked at the game with Junis.
Trans Canada, I appreciate that. You got my 5% play and Dave's 2%. Let's rock. Let's get it going here. Matt, anything from you?
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, I don't know if we do the separate DFS now, or I'll just say it now. Whit Merrifield is hitting over 500 against Boyd. Hunter Dozier, who had a couple hits last time out, is 10 of 17 with 2 homers. So I'm putting both of them in my DFS lineup. I got involved in this game. I have to reevaluate with Junis in there now. But look, both these teams are really good against lefties. Tigers have had the best batting average in the league against lefties. So that obviously hurts a little bit that Duffy's not in there. But Junis is no great shakes either, though.
I'm usually releasing my plays around 10 a.m. Eastern time in the MLB, 12 o'clock sometimes, and later on in the afternoon, depending on lineups. And the reason why I bring that up is because we have this show, obviously, 2 p.m. Eastern time every single day, 7 days a week. And, I formulate opinions sometimes. I listen to the panelists, and sometimes it helps me with an opinion and thoughts. And I had a 1-on-1 day yesterday. I had a short dog with the White Sox, and I had a loser on the Braves, and the entire panel leaned to the Orioles and the plus money, and that wasn't pretty. So it's a 1-1 night for me in the baseball card last night. But one of those things where maybe if I would have heard the entire panel, including Dave, say, maybe I'd lean towards the Orioles. I'm confident in my selections, but man, that was quite a bit of a beatdown here. Is there a way to go here in this one, Dave?
Which one?
Orioles matchup, Atlanta taking on Baltimore.
We skipped it, so now we're getting to it.
Oh, I see it. Okay, that's what happened. No, I got out of this game in a hurry. I don't like he's not showing me anything, and Eshelman is not a guy I want to back. Could be a high scoring game, but not a bet for me.
Is there a play for you here, Matt?
Yeah, I'm passing. I was looking at the overruns, hits, and errors, but Eshelman actually has decent numbers. I know the Braves lineup is capable of hitting anybody, but yeah, I'm passing on this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just noticed I did skip that in rotation order, but on my odds page, it's just it was directly following. I'm just going down the list here, so my apologies on that. Is there a play for you, Tony?
There isn't. I passed on this immediately. Immediately.
Well, we'll go to another huge game here. Texas taking on Houston. I'll start with you, Dave.
I assume Cody will be used the same way he's been used, which is go out there for a couple innings, basically once through the order. He's not really an opener, but not much more than that. And then they'll piggyback him with the same guy, and I'm blanking on who it is. He's had control problems. So you look at the I know it's a small sample, but that 0.93 ERA, that ain't going to hold up. You can't walk this many people and produce good results. Urquidy has had a couple of interesting starts. One was bad. The other was not good, but looked good. If you look good, it looked good on paper. But if you watched him pitch, he was all over the place. I think you're going to get runs here. Texas, we've talked about Texas's offense all year long, but they've been a nuts over team on the road. I think they're 14-6 to the over on the road. And the Astros can hit at home. This looks like runs to me.
Yeah, a team with a record that's not too promising and it isn't too great doesn't mean they don't get runs. And I think looking at this team on the road, it's a good example of that. Obviously, Houston at home can certainly hit the ball, or at least lately. What about you, Matt? Do you have a thought here on the total?
I will save you the time and pass it along to my good friend below me, Tony Finn.
Urquidy is 2 starts. He was injured. He's got 2 appearances. Both have had more walks than strikeouts. I pass. Yeah.
Well, that's part of why I like the over.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you got 2 guys with control problems.
Right.
If you give me free base runners, some of them are going to score.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned yesterday, the White Sox cash in as short dogs here. They playing once again here. Twins and White Sox. Start with you here with this one. I'll go back to you, Matt.
Domnak has been walking. Finally, the tightrope broke underneath Domnak. Yeah. He's got a 6.04 ERA and a 5.06 FIP his last 5 starts. I mean, we've talked about it. The regression was coming, and it's finally hit. On Dunning's side, I mean, he's 53.8% ground ball percentage. He's getting a lot of strikeouts, but how long is that going to last? So I think the regression is coming eventually to Dunning. The question is, does it continue for Domnak or does it start for Dunning? So I passed on this one.
These are the toughest games for me because it's why if it's a bad offensive team and they have a really bad night with runners in scoring position, I generally think that's going to continue. They're ready to. This is a team that's not going to score runs. When it's a good offensive team and they have a game like the Twins had last night, I don't know what to do because the Twins. I mean, they just had one of those games last night. I think it was either 2 for 16 or 2 for 18. I think it might have been 2 for 18 with runners in scoring position. Nelson Cruz, who's been phenomenal, goes 0 for 4, and I think he stranded 5 by himself. Actually, in his individual at bats, he stranded 9, but those don't all count because they weren't third outs. But he had a really bad game. This is the type of team that doesn't have bad games back to back very often. So my first impulse when I looked at this was, Dobnak's starting to go the wrong way, which kind of figured because I think he was pitching over his head. And Dunning has been, he's been pretty good. He's doing what the White Sox ask him to do, especially the first time through the order. Jeez. I mean, the numbers are great the first time through the order. But these are games that really confuse the hell out of me. And you know what? The best thing to do is when you're confused, just pass and move on to the next game. And that's what I'm doing here.
I was wondering if we were supposed to kind of fill that in, or if you were going to say it. But yeah,
I filled it in myself, and that actually is a really good handicapping philosophy. Don't try and figure something out when you can't. Maybe somebody else can, but I can't.
Well, that's why there's 4 of us here, and 3 of you guys breaking these games down. We'll go to you, Tony. Any thoughts here in this one?
When I first saw the game, I want to look at a few things. The total, because both these guys can be ground ball heavy. They can be. Dobnak, I think he's 85 ground balls to 50 fly balls this year. In fact, at one point he was 70% ground balls. But he has regressed. He bounced back a little bit from that bad start. I looked at it. I passed. I couldn't get to the under 9 in this, and so I passed.
Matt, I'm seeing some 8, some 8.5s here now. Carrasco, Darvish, Indians taking on the Cubs. Is there a play for you on the side or total?
Well, to me, this is a first 5 under. As long as that damn Tim Timmons isn't doing the game. I'm still bitter about the August 12th game where he squeezed Carrasco and Carrasco fell apart and gave up a bunch of runs, and I lost my bet, my first 5 under there. But Carrasco's been good as of late. I mean, we know how good he can be. I mean, granted, look, it was against Kansas City, Milwaukee, and St. Louis, so the lineups aren't the greatest, but he's getting the strikeouts. He's reducing his walks. Darvish is Darvish. I mean, he had, quote-unquote, a bad start last time out, gave up 3 earned runs, but only 2 hits. The Indians lineup sucks. I think Darvish strikes out a lot of guys. The wind is not going to be a factor. It looks like it's, the last I read, is going to blow across the field, so it's not going in or out. So that's a help. So to me, it's a first 5 under or nothing here.
What's that strikeout problem like today for him, Matt? Darvish. Excuse me? What's that strikeout prop looking like today? Any idea?
7.5, which is high, but he only had 2 games where he's gone 5 or less. One was the first start when he only went at 4 1/3, and then he had a weird one against the Royals where he went 7 innings but only had 5 strikeouts. So to me, that looks like, you know, a nice little play there is the over 7.5 strikeouts.
Dave? And Darvish in his last start, he just, you know, he couldn't find the strike zone for the first couple of batters. He walked 2 guys to start the game, and I think he got an out, and then even with the wind blowing in, Moustakas just crushed one. And, I mean, that was going out of any ballpark on any game or any night. And it's 3-0. And that was the last scoring that was done in the entire baseball game because Bauer was lights out for Cincinnati, and Darvish settled in after that and got 0. So it was kind of a fluke. This guy's been pitching great ball since last summer. And I don't disagree with what Matt said. You know, I think that's the right. I think that's the right play here.
I'd look the exact same way, Tony. I think it's a good spot here for a first 5 under. Is that a consensus agreement here?
I wouldn't argue that at all. Here's the reason I've stayed away from this game is Carrasco can be. Listen, he gets a lot of chase. He gets his strikeouts 30%. Nice number, as Dave mentioned. 30% strikeouts. He gets a lot of chases. This is a pretty disciplined Cubs lineup. In fact, they're again behind the Reds, the only one that walks per inning or per at bats, and so I backed off of that because if I was going to play something, it would be Darvish, and I just didn't do it.
I want to go to you here, Matt. Anderson, Newsom, and we got San Francisco taking on Seattle.
I mean, Seattle can't hit lefties. Anderson pitched really well against them last time. The problem was Anderson just did a back-to-back against Arizona, in which he pitched really well against Arizona, and then the second time got rocked, so that scared me. LJ Newsom, I mean, the only thing I love about this guy is he doesn't walk anybody. He has like a 1.2% walk percentage, and like between the majors and the minors, he just doesn't walk anybody, which is incredible nowadays. I stayed away from this thing. I was considering the first 5 under here, but Anderson pitching so poorly the second time facing Arizona scared me, and so once again, I kind of worried. But I mean, Seattle, look, the air quality once again, this is something to consider for the Seattle game, so that's another factor, so I passed on this one.
Dave, what number did you make this game at?
I actually didn't make a number in the game. So, because I scratched it off pretty quickly, and it was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna get involved. Because and Matt just really mentioned the reason why. Good luck trying to figure out which Anderson's showing up. He's just quickly falling into that category of pitchers to be very careful with. He is facing a team that doesn't hit lefties well, so maybe that bodes well for him. Newsom is the type of young pitcher I like, and again, Matt basically set this up. He doesn't hurt himself. You got to beat him. He's not going to beat himself with walks, and I like guys like that. So the Giants will have to earn their victory tonight. I didn't do anything with the game, and I'll move it to Tony.
Tony, Hunter Engelhardt, panelist on here numerous times. We see him all the time breaking these games down. He doesn't like to be involved with teams like the Giants or like the Mariners. He's typically involved in these teams that are a little higher up in the standings. Do you find there's a money-making opportunity in this game today?
Well, I do. I wouldn't argue with Hunter for playing that philosophy and handicapping that way. However, there's, you know, the old saying, the old adage that even in a full season, the worst teams in the league win 60 games, and typically you're going to get a price on those teams. So there's times to pick and choose your places and your spots, and it may involve one of the dog teams. In this game, Dave said it already. Seattle's hitting 190 against left-handers with the on-base percentage of under 300. It's hard not to play. It's why one of the reasons I played Oakland yesterday, and they eventually got to the lefty, the rookie Lazard, and I lose in this one. If I was played, I didn't. I would. I'd be playing against the Mariners.
And Tony, your quick thoughts here on Arizona taking on LA, the Angels.
I passed immediately. Listen, we've talked about first off, Teran is an innings eater, and if you can back him, that means one thing. That means that you believe the Angels are going to score some runs. You're going to have to score some runs. You would think, right? Dave's kind of been had a hard on for this Diamondbacks team for quite some time now because they've been miserable, and I don't blame them. So you look one way, you look the other, and the best way to do is what Dave said, and that's go forward, move, pass.
You know, I mean, if I'm going to make a case for anything, it'd be the over. I know Mad Bum was better last time out, but I don't know. I'm not buying it. He just doesn't look like – he looks like old Mad Bum rather than the old Mad Bum. And Teheran's a guy I've stated about 100 times that I don't like. So good chance of seeing some bullpens here, and that could contribute to some scoring.
Final thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I was going to – I wish I could make a case for runs, hits, and errors, the over here, because Teheran's going to put runners on base, and if the wrong Bumgarner shows up, he will too, but I just can't. I mean, Teheran, the second time through the order, 429 people are hitting him. So, I mean, the opportunities are there, but can both lineups take advantage of it? And as Dave said, I mean, Arizona is toxic.
That's why it's just a quick opinion for me and not a play, because the Diamondbacks offense is hard. It's terrible. So even against a guy like Teheran,
yeah.
You know, I mean, I can see why the game is priced where it is. I mean, to me, you know, the Angels aren't going anywhere. They're $1.40 or so favorite. It's a big price for a team that sucks, but the Diamondbacks might suck even more.
Once again, $2 Tuesday at both sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com. Mid-Major Matt at Mid-Major Matt on Twitter. Myself at McGinnis Picks on Twitter. Dave Koken at Dave Koken, and Tony Finn at Wager Talk. Everybody has packages up. It's a big day at both websites. On behalf of these guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow right here on First Pitch. So many great videos, guys, going out here on Wager Talk these days. I just want to take a second to give a hats off to Teddy and Prez on their brand new show. Bet on It is just doing extremely well once again. Pretty much all afternoon, you have content to watch right here on Wager Talk TV. So if you're not buying picks, you certainly still have plenty of content, plenty of free advice here on this YouTube channel. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, usual time, right here on First Pitch.